I'm Seth. That's
Okay.
Gabe. This is Slightly Educational Podcast. The topic that we wanted to talk about today is the current state of the U.S. politics, among other things, starting with our opinions on the government shutdown. So, Gabe, do you have any first thoughts you want to share about the shutdown and, why you think it's happening, what you think could be done?
Well, why I think it's happening, it's because people are, grasping the straws.
Mm-hmm.
It's the wall especially is an easy thing to just...
Mm-hmm.
It's a tangible object that it's like an easy goal for, I guess, the Republicans to grasp at.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty... I don't know. Obviously, it's a contentious issue, but I don't know.
I think the wall is the dumbest thing. I think it's especially because Republicans, they talk about all this tax cuts and all saving money, cutting government spending, and then they want to go build a billion-dollar wall. That's probably going to do nothing, honestly. If someone's really that determined to get into the U.S.
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of illegal immigrants are just literally coming in. They overstay their visa, so they fly in over the wall anyway.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
just
yeah.
overstay their visa, and that's why they're illegal.
I know,
Or
I know.
undocumented.
I know, and it just doesn't make a lot of sense that you would want to cut all this government spending and then build a billion-dollar wall. I think it's more a lot of people say the wall is more of a metaphor.
That's what I'm saying. It's like a symbol for what they're trying to, I guess, achieve.
Yeah, but it's kind of okay, well, what else are you, it's not, it's obviously not a metaphor if you're going to shut down the government in order to make it happen, you know what I mean, and build the actual wall. But I think immigration, and I'm not too qualified to talk on the issue of immigration, but I think that it's a very tricky topic because a lot of the super liberal people are I don't know if they're not stern enough on immigration, but then building a wall and keeping everyone out, I think is not a good idea.
I mean, the wall would never really keep anyone out anyway.
I know.
Like we were saying, it's a symbol for what I guess they want to do.
Yeah, and I think part of the weird thing about this current administration that I think is going to be detrimental to the U.S. in the long run is kind of this isolationist approach that they're taking, this America First approach that they're taking, especially in the wake of how interconnected a lot of other countries are.
Right.
You know what I mean? To kind of stay away from that and just zero in on your own country, despite the fact that America is the largest economic power in the world, I think it's going to be detrimental in the long run. When countries, you see China, you know how they're doing the One Belt, One Road, and they're trying to basically recolonize Africa and parts of Eastern Europe.
But I mean, it's not like China's out there opening up their free trade to everyone. They're also, I mean, obviously they're doing China first. So I mean, they are focusing inwards, and I don't necessarily think the U.S. is going back to 1920s isolationist or anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's definitely something they notice. U.S. is going more inwards, I guess.
Yeah, and just I feel increased amounts of xenophobia and fear of outsiders, and I don't know, the whole current state of U.S. politics is pretty messy.
I mean, that's happening in a lot of places too. I mean, I know this is kind of off topic, but the whole situation in the U.K. with Brexit too is that people who don't really know what they're doing anymore, but it's just a bunch of, I guess, xenophobia and lies that led to the whatever situation they're in right now, and then now they've dug themselves into a hole, and I don't know what's happening. They have no deal on the table, and they're about to get kicked out of the EU.
I know. I think that's pretty detrimental. And then you have guys like Trump and who's the Hungary? Do you know the leader of Hungary?
No, I don't.
Because Hungary is also another country that's growing extremely nationalistic.
And same with Brazil. What's his name? Bolsonaro or something?
Yeah.
He's also riding the wave of right-wing populism.
I know. And what do you think is the cause of all this, right-wing populism and nationalism around the world?
Around the world?
Because you can see it growing in not only in Europe, in South America, in the U.S., in UK,
Definitely. I mean, in the U.S., I guess it's partially probably reaction to, I guess, the Obama presidency.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, saying it as if it's especially in the U.S., saying it as if it's some, sweeping, tide of right-wing populism grabbing the nation. I mean, yeah, but Donald Trump also lost by 2 million votes, and even in the 2018 midterms, Republicans got way less votes than Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's not like they're just all of a sudden outnumbering 3-1 just right-wing populists. They've been there and they've been voting. It just so happens that now it's happening in other places too, I guess. But,
yeah. Do you think that there is a Democratic candidate that will be able to upseed Trump? Like, who do you see as the I'd say Beto is probably the best shot.
Beto?
He's pretty popular, yeah. I think because Elizabeth Warren, I don't know too much about her politics, but I know she like, I don't know.
I don't know. Elizabeth Warren, I mean, like, she plays too easily in Trump's game. Like, you saw the DNA test she did. Like, I don't know why she followed through with Trump's like assertion. Like,
I know.
Go get a DNA test. No, I think he said he'd donate to like some charity of choice, but. She shouldn't have ever won with it. She's basically like playing into his game.
I know, and I think Trump could. I think Trump could do kind of what he did with Hillary, in kind of painting her in this light to his base and to everyone around the world, not in the country, with Elizabeth Warren. I think another candidate that also could make a run is Cory Booker. I think the best thing that could come out of a Cory Booker presidency is that, what's the guy's name? Keegan-Michael Key from Key and Peele looks just like him. So on Saturday Night Live, that'd be a great impression. But I just, because Trump, you look at all these numbers and you see that Trump's popularity is just like going down. Like, it's not great. But this, in the back of my mind, it's hard for me to see Trump losing if he runs for re-election.
You really think so? You think he has a really a chance of winning?
I think so. I think because
I think all the Democrats have to do is just run a competent candidate. Because the problem with Hillary Clinton is that she didn't have like any charisma at all. And
she was plastic.
And the whole controversy with her and the DNC, like basically like conspiring against Bernie Sanders in his run.
Do you think Bernie Sanders would be able to pull off an election victory if he ran in 2020?
I think he could win. I don't know. I think he could win if he ran again. I don't know if I don't think he's gonna run again, but he could.
Yeah, he's getting up there, and I don't know. I think. What do you think of Bernie Sanders' presidency would look like?
What would it look like?
Yeah, I think because I think Republicans would react to a Bernie Sanders presidency the same way Democrats kind of reacted to a Trump presidency. Oh, this is the death of capitalism, socialist America, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he'd get anything done. I think, if anything, a Bernie Sanders presidency would be more a symbolic win for the further left, more than an actual, like, legislative win or anything like that. Because he wouldn't get anything passed. Even if Democrats win this, like, the Senate and the House, he still has to get laws passed by his party. And I mean, a lot of people in the establishment Democratic Party don't like him.
Yeah, but with that being said, do you fear the kind of growing farther from the center that you see? Because you see these like alt-right Trump Republicans that are way different than even like George W. Bush Republicans, Mitt Romney Republicans, and then you had these Bernie Sanders, these Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez Democrats that are just extremely, extremely liberal. Do you think that in the long run could be detrimental to the American democracy? Because I think, the right is getting more right. The left is getting more left. That could lead to some sort of major conflict. I
mean, there's no specific rule in politics that you have to have two big centrist parties. If anything, it's like, I mean, I think that's probably partially a problem with the way the U.S. electoral system works, in that it's propagating these two big parties. Because if you look at other countries, they might have a huge centrist party, but they also have fringe parties. Or I guess other parties like out to the left or further to the right.
Like more than two parties.
Definitely more than two. So I mean, I personally don't think there's anything wrong. If anything, actually, I guess speaking of my personal views, I think the Democratic Party is a little too centrist, or at least, I mean, I guess not the Democrat. Like, they're meant to represent more centrist or center left. But I like AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. So I think what she's doing good. I think what she represents is amazing, and the fact that she was able to beat the incumbent Crowley.
Fun fact about Crowley is he never actually won an election.
Really?
Yeah, he was I forget, I don't know the name of the congressman before him. This was way before my time. But he was given the congressman
but he has to run every 2 years though, doesn't
he? Yes, but it's a very safe district for the Democrats. So he's ran a lot of like unchallenged. And he was given, it was like he was friends with the guy that was the incumbent, and Then he retired in the middle of his candidacy and just gave it to Joe Crowley.
Well, then that's even more proof that the Democratic Party is basically just like, I don't know, just like, I don't want to say like syndicate or anything, but like just the fact that these two parties are representing like the status quo basically. I think the polarization is just representative of what people are actually voting for, and people like Ocasio-Cortez are showing this new wave of, I guess, new younger generation voting for the left, or people like Donald Trump representing the new right-wing populist demographic that's spread it out.
So maybe there'd be more than... I think that would be pretty cool, actually, if the Democrats maybe split into two parties. The Republicans split into two parties.
Yeah, well, there's no way that would happen, because the problem is with having more than two parties, with the way the elections work, is that to win an election, all you need is the most votes. But not even the most, but you need more votes than everyone else. So say the Democrats split into two, and then they run two candidates instead, and the vote is split like 40% vote for Republicans and like 30 and 30 vote for Democrats. The Democrats could have won, or the two Democratic parties, they could have won if they were together, but since first past the post system, the one with 40% wins, so he won without even getting majority of the votes.
So do you think that there should be a complete change in how the American electoral system
works? I definitely think there should be a change, at least eliminating first past the post voting system. Do I think that's ever going to happen anytime soon?
Probably not.
It would, if it happens, it has to start at like, there are some local places that do like ranked choice voting where you can vote, like number your candidates. I don't know what places do that, but, and even just like changing stuff like the electoral college, like how some of that stuff works, because like Maine and Nebraska, they assign electoral college votes based on how their congressional districts vote, which is better than like all or nothing, but it's still like, it's pretty bad, especially with like districts can be gerrymandered anyway. So I mean, it still propagates the two-party system basically. Yeah,
I think, and again, I'm not an expert on the U.S. political system. It's just a fun topic that we wanted to talk about. But yeah, I'm no expert, but I think because we saw that Hillary won the popular vote in the election. So what if it was basically just whoever got the most votes won? There's just one pool of votes.
Yeah, I mean,
I think that's the most fair way to determine an election.
That's better than what we have now. But again, like I said, that's not really a fair way. Because, like, say, what if Donald Trump, Bernie Sanders, and Hillary Clinton ran, right? And then Donald Trump got, like I said, 40% of the vote, and Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders both got 30% of the vote. Then 60% of people didn't vote for Donald Trump, but since he got the most votes, he's going to be the president.
Yeah.
You should be able to at least rank your candidate choices. So that way, if, say, like, 25% of people vote for Bernie Sanders, his vote is he's eliminated, and then their second choice. Everyone who voted for Bernie Sanders gets their second choice candidate. So there are different systems you can use rather than first past the post. But I mean, yeah, I think a national popular vote is better than the electoral college right now.
Yeah, most definitely. So, going back to the topic of potential candidates for the 2020 election, are there any candidates that you'd specifically like to see? Ron, I think personally I like Beto, what he did in Texas.
The problem is with Beto is that people are touting him like he's the next Obama, right? But the difference between him and Obama is that Obama actually won as a junior senator. So Beto would be running as, who is he, like a congressman or something?
Congressman or like state congressman.
State congressman. Yeah, so I mean, he'd be running with like little to no experience in the national politics, and he just lost an election against Ted Cruz. I mean, it was close, but I mean, he still lost the election, so I don't think he's a necessarily good choice. I mean, they like him because he's a young guy and charismatic, but I don't know. I think he'd be better off waiting to get more experience.
Yeah, but because we saw with Trump that he had no prior political experience. He was a businessman, and he won. Do you think that there could be someone like with that same level of inexperience come in, like even like a Kanye West? Do you think like?
No, I don't think. One, I don't think the Democratic Party should. I don't want to say stoop so low, but I don't think they should run people based on celebrity status. I feel like one of the Democratic Party's strengths is that they turn politicians into celebrities like Obama. I mean, the fact that he's still the most popular like politician, even though he's not in office, but like he's still popular even after he's president, right? The Democratic Party is good at turning politicians into celebrities, so I don't think that Democrats should resort to running celebrities instead. Yeah,
I just think, I don't know, with kind of the shift in, I don't want to say culture, but like how the American people kind of are starting to view politics. It's more of like at least what I see, like a spectator sport, you know? Like we have CNBC, CNN, Fox News, all this coverage. It's covered like, it's basically like ESPN is to football as. CNBC or MSNBC is to politics. So I think, especially in like the age of social media too, and a lot of different opinions are getting heard and getting put out there, I think it's not unreasonable to think that some complete wild card candidate like a Trump in last election could come and win the election. I don't know if I'd like to see a Kanye West presidency. I think a Kanye West presidential run would be kind of entertaining. It'd make way for some good speeches. I don't necessarily know if he'd run as a Democrat though, because
I mean, people are talking like Oprah Winfrey too running.
yeah,
So, I mean,
Oprah, that'd be a black woman president. That's
yeah, really
pretty fucking
shadow
progressive.
boxed.
Yeah, it's I mean, I think Oprah versus Trump. I think Oprah would have a good shot. I think anyone would have a good shot against
That's
Trump.
that's why a ton of Democrats are announcing their
Yeah.
candidacy for nomination
Mhm.
a year prior, because everyone thinks they can beat Donald Trump, which they should be really easy.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
But you never know. And maybe Trump will be impeached or will be charged with something with the Russia investigation,
maybe
which could
I mean,
hinder. But
and
that's
you
just
saw the BuzzFeed article, and then Mueller, said it was. I forgot like the details of it, but he said basically it wasn't. They didn't find the same recordings. BuzzFeed said they had some evidence that Trump had instructed his lawyer to lie.
yeah.
But
Cohen.
Yeah, Michael Cohen.
Yeah, an American University alum.
Oh, you really?
So is Wolf of Wall Street guy, Jordan Belfort.
Yeah.
He went to American AU. You know what they call AU?
What?
Gay Jew. And
Hate you.
yeah, because you can kind of figure out why they call that one. A lot of gay people and a lot of Jews, which with alumni like Michael Cohen, Jordan Belfort, both of whom are Jewish, and I have a friend that goes there, and he was like, yeah, the stereotype holds true. It's a lot of gay Jews, but it's also a pretty competitive school, which brings me into the next topic that I want to talk about is the state of the college admission system, which I think is something a lot very relevant to us because we're kind of at that we're kind of at that time where we're applying to colleges, but also I think it's changed so much, not even in the last 10-15 years, but in the last like 2-3 years. For example, one of my good buddies, his sister graduated from Virginia Tech.
Right.
She had a 2.9 GPA in high school, which is kind of not great. And that was 4 years ago.
Right.
She graduated this following year. So that was 4 years ago she was applying to Tech. She got a 2.9 and got into Virginia Tech. My cousin last year had a 4.2 GPA and got denied, not even deferred, denied from Virginia Tech. I think it's outrageous how competitive it's getting.
Yeah, I mean, you can even look like there's a website I saw basically saying like in the past 10 years, it's just comparing the acceptance rates from before or from like 2007 to now, and even like in the top schools, I can't remember off the top of my head, but some of these schools had like 30% acceptance rate dropping down to like a 10% acceptance rate.
Stanford accepted 1% of applicants last year.
Yeah, I mean, no, it's crazy how competitive these schools are, and I mean, in part because it's gotten easier to apply to schools, so it's not necessarily a bad thing. Like you shouldn't go out and saying like, oh, it's why all these people get a chance to apply to schools.
Yeah.
Things like the Common App or Coalition App or whatever makes it easier to apply to schools.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it leads a lot of people to, I guess, just like shotgunning schools and throwing out their applications or wherever, which is why some schools selectively choose. Like I know MIT chooses to have their own website purposely so people don't shotgun their school.
Yeah, but with MIT, you got accepted into MIT.
Yes.
Do you think what do you think drew you? Like, can you pinpoint anything that you think may have put you above other applicants in order to get in, or do you think it was just kind of like a crapshoot?
I don't know. I don't know if anything puts me above. Like my GPA was 4.2, which is not the highest in Yorktown. There are kids with really high GPAs. So, I don't know. A lot of it again comes down to luck because like. Out of the 7,000 kids who applied early action MIT, like 700 got accepted in. Two from Yorktown. Though,
I know, and weren't there only like 6 from Virginia? And 2 of them were from Yorktown. There was like a low number of kids from Virginia.
It was pretty low. Last year, from Thomas Jefferson Science High School, they got 6 kids to go to MIT.
Dang, but that's TJ. that's a different breed of kid.
Yeah, but what personally set me apart? I don't really know.
Yeah, I think it is kind of a crapshoot. I think another thing to also take into account is that more people are applying to college than ever.
No, yeah,
And more
that,
people are going to
that's a good
college than
thing.
ever. Yeah, yeah, no, for sure, for sure. It's not just the same, upper middle class white people going to college, but there's all this talk about people that are maybe like a quarter Guatemalan wanting to put like
Yeah.
Hispanic on their college applications. Do you think that there is a disadvantage to being like a white or
White or
more
Asian, is what
or
you're saying?
Asian when applying to college, and that colleges are desiring to have more Latino, more Black, more Native American
Yeah, I mean, you
students?
see that like in the lawsuits. I think there's one going against Harvard right now about an Asian American families feel they're at a disadvantage compared to Black and Hispanic kids when applying to college. And I mean, it is a valid argument. It is, I guess, it would be harder for an Asian American student to get in, but part of it is because colleges they're not allowed to set a racial quota. So like, UC Berkeley is not saying, oh, we need 50 Black kids to go to our school this year. They're basically the point of, I guess, affirmative action, if you still want to call it, is that it's to get a more diverse student body. So they'll accept kids who are, I guess, who grew up in like less fortunate areas, or basically, or had fewer opportunities, in an effort to balance out their student body and make it more reflective of the world around them. So I mean, I guess I'm coming from a biased opinion, me being half Asian, half Black. So, but I don't think it's a bad thing. I think I support schools doing this. I don't want to. I mean, obviously I sound biased because I made an MIT and I'm half Black. But I don't know. I think it's a good thing that schools are doing it. I don't necessarily. It's a hard issue to talk about.
I think this begs the question: should students even have to put their race on their application? Is it that important of a deciding factor? Is that important of a thing to know?
I think it definitely is. I mean, schools talk about the holistic application program, or whatever.
Looking at the whole person.
Looking at the whole person, and I think especially in the U.S. and especially now that race is a pretty large part about how people feel. I guess just how people live their life. I mean, even me personally, I've lived in North Arlington my whole life, and I feel like race has had a pretty large impact of basically how I live my life and how people see me. So I think it's important that people continue to. I think it's important that people put their race down, or that college to ask for their race, just to get a background on how these people have lived and stuff like that.
I think that is a good point to bring up, especially in the kind of area we live in. It's not the most diverse area. Honestly, like, you are probably, in most of the classes I've had with you, I'd say you're probably the only Black kid.
No, definitely, yeah. Most of my classes.
Yeah, even my friend, we had a conversation the other day. We were like, do we have a class that has more than one Black person in it? And a lot of it was we were like, no, we don't. But that's also, we're both the kinds of students that are taking more AP classes, more advanced classes. Do you think there is a correlation? Because I can see it between AP classes and
yeah, I mean, no doubt there's a correlation. There's a correlation between race, because there's a correlation between race and income, and then there's a correlation between income and like education level, or just the fact that like they're not, obviously Black people or Hispanic people are not predisposed to like not taking AP classes. It's just that it's harder for them to have the opportunity or have the chance to take AP classes because they've just been less fortunate in what they've been dealt in life. So it's harder for them to get in higher education. I've been fortunate. My parents are decently wealthy, so I've had my time has been a lot easier than most other Black kids in Yorktown. So.
But something that's interesting is that starting from kindergarten, a Black kid that's been in Arlington Public Schools since kindergarten, and then a white kid that's been in Arlington Public Schools since kindergarten, now you can see the Black kid not taking AP classes, and the white kid taking all AP classes and taking more advanced curriculum. So that begs the question, because they both had equal opportunity as far as exposure to AP classes goes.
Yeah.
If they're in the same school district for their whole
Yeah.
educational careers.
And yeah, to keep in mind that educational achievement is more than just the school you attend, right? That white kid might have been, I mean, he's probably like played rec soccer or something and had tutors for whatever he needed or whatever. Whereas a Black kid might have had to work a couple jobs while he's in school. So there's a lot of other things. And a white kid might have had a mom who, I mean, I don't mean to stereotype, like had like a mom that stayed at home and helped them with their homework, whereas black kid might have rarely seen their parents because they're working late at night or something. So I mean, and this is not to say that every single white kid or every single black kid is or isn't going to take AP classes. It's just it's a correlation, and it's a trend that seems to be happening. But I mean, in Arlington specifically, there's seemingly going to be like less and less black people as it becomes more expensive to live in the area. So
I know. I think, and that's a big issue. There's a lot of Section 8 housing in Arlington that, Westover, by in those apartments by Westover, they there's a huge thing they want to tear them down and build like high-rise apartments, and it got shot down. The people protested because it was Section 8 apartments,
right.
like mostly home to immigrants, mostly home to that was basically the bulk of the population, immigrants from Honduras and El Salvador. And do you I don't know. Part of me supports, keeping the homes for these people, but another part, if you're a developer and you see this kind of opportunity to build these high-rise apartments, I think it's gonna get worse. You see it around here with the house we're in now is like a brick colonial house, which is what most of the houses in Arlington are, and now you're seeing all these McMansions being built, and with Amazon coming in and Nesquik coming in and Capital One moving to Tyson's Corner, it's changing.
I think Arlington has been uniquely good though at urban development. They've been pretty smart, especially along, I guess, the Ross and Ballston corridor. I think building apartment or high-rise apartments is probably better in the long run because it just increases the availability of houses. Whereas building like these mansions over here is, I mean, it's one family living on a huge plot of land, so that's going to make house prices continue to increase. So I think what Arlington's doing is they're emphasizing building apartments along some of the corridors, and they're emphasizing public transportation. As you see, like they have their iRide Smart program. They have their student ridership programs and stuff.
iRide
Smart. So, I mean,
that's a good name for the program, though. iRide Smart.
That's some driver's ed program, I think. But,
I Drive Smart.
I Drive Smart. Yeah, but no, they've been. Arlington's been pretty good about it. It's been worse, I think, in other places, like in DC especially. I think that it's been a problem where people have been not forced out of their home, but it's just been priced out of their old neighborhoods.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But going back to the topic of race and
the topic was college admissions.
Yeah, college admissions. Do you remember the Posse scholarship?
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Did you ever go to the second interview round at the headquarters? Did you look at the picture of all the Posse nominees? All the of past years.
I probably did. I mean, are they mostly Hispanic or something?
They were pretty much all black.
All black.
Pretty much all black. Maybe 4 white kids thrown in there.
Yeah. I mean.
So it's not like there's no opportunities available for minorities and for the black kids and Hispanic kids.
But keep in mind that oftentimes, the people... Well, Posse, I think Posse is not aiming to get the highest academic achievers. I think it's aiming to get people... I think Posse is a good example of an organization that's trying to make a difference. And they're getting people who don't necessarily have the best grades, but they see potential in these kids, and that's why... They're trying to get them to be I guess a posse is what they're trying to do. So I think Posse is a good example of people trying to make a difference, and it's actually an example of what these colleges are trying to do, giving less academically successful people an opportunity to, I guess, rise up. I guess. But
then also, why are they picking all minorities for their scholarships? Even though they claim to not be a minority-based scholarship.
Yeah, I mean, I think one is just it's a lot more. Minorities. I mean, I think there are a lot more minority students just in that organization in general because you need to be nominated by your teacher. So I think it just has to do one with the nomination, and two, a lot of people who are higher at academic achievement don't want to be. I guess it's an early decision program, so they'd be forced to get into.
And also, the schools are kind of it's not a very broad selection.
Yeah, it's not a very broad.
Schools 5, most of them.
Yeah. I mean, that's specific to this area.
The DC area.
Because some people can go to UVA off the Posse Foundation.
Yeah, which makes no sense why the DC area doesn't have UVA as one of their schools.
But if you notice the DC area, all the kids are from Northern Virginia.
Yeah.
Which is kind of weird.
It was mostly that could have been our interview group though.
Maybe.
Because there could have been kids from Maryland. I don't know, but also the public schools in Virginia are a lot better. That's why if you see private school, I have friends at Gonzaga, and the social scene in private school is dominated by Maryland kids because the public schools in Maryland are
I don't know why if you live in Arlington, why would you ever go to private school?
I don't understand. Sport and there's I think the majority of children in Arlington go to private school Or it's like
In Arlington?
right up there with the amount that go to public school. Yeah,
There's no way.
That's what Mr. Holland told me. I don't know how reliable of a source that is, but
There's no way that's true.
But I don't know. I feel like people, if they just have the money to send their kids to private school, are going to. But do you think, in the way the college admissions are now, that it could be even a disadvantage to go to a private school? Yeah, if
they're gonna know you're rich either way.
Yeah.
Like, so
they're gonna see your tax returns. Yeah, your parents' tax returns.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't think that's a huge problem. But I mean, you saw you hear about that T.M. Landry school in Louisiana faking their transcripts and stuff.
No, what happened?
So there's this private school in Louisiana, and they've been they were known for posting these viral videos of 16-year-old gets accepted to Harvard, and it's some black kid who's opening acceptance letter, and then the whole room goes crazy when he opens it and he sees the accepted. So they always get these news organizations about how this random school in Louisiana keeps sending their kids to the top schools, and lo and behold, it turns out that they've been faking transcripts, writing and faking grades, having them write the application for them, or write stories, made up stories. So they say oh, these kids are being abused at home, absent father, abusive mother, stuff like that.
That's horrible.
And it turns out that these kids are actually being abused in the school. So this school is not even really a school. It's in a warehouse, and there's all the kids are all in one room basically, and all they do is study for the ACT, so they can inflate their ACT scores. So they have these kids kneeling on rice. They beat them I guess as punishment if they didn't score well on the test. But the guy who ran the school, Mr. Landry, was really good at hiding whatever. So whenever the media came in, he had these rehearsed skits that the kids would run through and stuff like that. So I mean, it worked for a while. I mean, it worked getting kids to the colleges. I don't know about. I think afterwards, a lot of the kids ended up dropping out because they couldn't handle the pressures of these top colleges coming from their school, which is basically nothing.
Especially if you're not even, if it's your first time going to school in 4 years, all you've been doing is studying for the ACT in some warehouse in Louisiana.
It's a 12-year school, I think. So these kids have been not going to school at all. So
must have had ridiculously good ACT scores.
No, but yeah, I mean, they didn't really need that great ACT scores because their stories were basically that they were being beat at home, and they were basically suffering from all this stuff. Which I mean, they were. Don't get me wrong; these kids were definitely suffering from abuse, but not from at home. It was from the school.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's an interesting New York Times article, and I'll put it in the description of the podcast so people can read it. But yeah.
Yeah, that's also interesting. Is that they did see a higher percentage of... So it could be proof that the Harvard and all these schools want kids that have been abused, which to me, or not even just abused, but have just led such, shitty lives. So for me, it's is that an incentive to... Do you think people are going to start putting on their application, because you'll even see with the college essays, it's a lot of the ones that people are writing are sob stories about themselves.
No, I understand what you're saying, and I always hear people saying, I always see online, oh man, you're so lucky that you get to be top of your class and your parents are low income, but or even people saying, I heard people say to me, oh man, you must have a really good chance of getting into MIT because you're black, right? Mm-hmm. People said that to me, and I mean, I guess I didn't prove them wrong because I made it in, but I think that, yeah, okay, sure, you can be low income, you can be black, but I'm black for the rest of my life, not just for college admissions. But that poor kid had to spend the whole 18 years of his early life living paycheck to paycheck. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't call him lucky. If anything, I think the reason why he's accepted into college is because he's harder working than the rest of the people. Mm-hmm. I don't think he's any more fortunate. I think I'm more fortunate the fact that I was born with a higher income than the rest of the people. So I don't know if necessarily that you should be oh man, I wish I was I wish my parents made $20,000 a year.
Yeah, you'll see kids though oh man, I wish I was Hispanic. Oh man, I wish I this. I don't know. It's kind of a weird thing to desire, and kids even I think a lot of people on their college applications put the not necessarily the worst version of themselves, but the version of themselves that you're gonna feel the worst for. If you're a quarter Hispanic, you're gonna be you're stupid not to say you're Hispanic on your college applications. And if maybe a lot of essays I think could blow things out of proportion. Let's say you suffer from anxiety, depression, or you had to come out to your parents and they weren't accepting, or that's going to be the college essay topic.
Maybe, but I think, I mean, when you look online about all these good college essays topics. Like, I don't know if you ever saw that one girl who wrote her college essay about like Costco and her time at Costco. That was a pretty popular essay, I think, like 2 years ago. And it's just a mundane topic, and I think colleges like seeing mundane topics. I know I wrote about. I think one of my college essays, I literally just wrote about growing out my hair.
Really?
So yeah, so I didn't. So I think that because like there's a ton of depressed people. I don't mean to like, say it. I don't. I think colleges are getting. I mean, probably not getting tired. They've probably already been tired of seeing like everyone's gonna write about like how they're depressed or I don't mean to downplay it, but like suicide, like people commit suicide, people lose relatives. It happens. But writing about it, letting it define you, I don't think the colleges necessarily want to see that.
Yeah, and it also like maybe because there was a girl at another school in our county who that I heard about that was like anorexic and depressed and all this shit happened to her. And she wrote that about her essay, and then when she didn't get in, she got denied from the college, her first choice college. I believe it was Boston University or Boston College or one of the two. Everyone was like shocked. It's like, oh my God, how can you? She's been through so much. Like, how are you gonna deny this girl?
Right.
So I think that is seems to be the status quo as of right now. Is that like the worse your life is, the higher, the better your chances of getting into college are.
But is that studies on that? Like, are depressed people more likely to get in college? I don't necessarily think it's happening.
Yeah, probably not.
People like to write about it because they think that's what college is like, but I don't know if that's necessarily shown to like actually work.
I think college is like community service. That's what my preaching is. That's like basically throughout my high school career. That was the thing. I was like, this is gonna get me into college. All the community service I do is going to get me into college. And so far, like, so good. Like, gotten to every college I've applied to.
I guess, but there's also like, I mean, you see all these girls doing like their mission trips, basically.
Yeah.
And even throughout the year, they'll post on their Instagram like, "Oh, I miss being in Belize or something."
Yeah.
So I mean, like, but colleges see right through that. Like, obviously, if it's some rich white kid going on a mission trip to like Uganda, helping the poor African children. Like, I mean, it's community service, no doubt, but like, they don't really. It's not really something that they'd want to like. Or it's not something they're looking for, basically. Is what I'm trying to say.
I always wondered about those mission trips because you see all these girls and like posting pictures. It's basically just posting pictures with African kids. To me, that seems like the whole reason that they want to go. To post pictures with African kids.
I never did a mission trip, and I made it in college.
Yeah. Neither did I. I think it would have been cool. I don't know if I necessarily would have gone to Uganda or Belize, but I feel like you can't do a mission trip to like a nicer
like
place.
France?
Yeah, a mission trip to. I have friends that did a mission trip to Prague.
What? What they do there?
And mission stuff. I don't know. Go to orphanages. I really couldn't tell you. But the thing that bothered me about that mission trip and about other ones is that they're asking like it's like GoFundMe. You know, it's like fund my mission trip to Prague. It's like I'm not gonna pay for you to go on a vacation to Prague. Like if I'm spending money for anyone to go to Prague, it's gonna be me. You know.
Yeah.
But honestly, I don't even know how like what you can do on these mission trips. Like what are they doing that's benefiting the Ugandan people or the Czechian? Is it Czechian now, or is it still Czech?
It's still Czech. It's just the place is called Czechia.
Czechia.
What a short name for it is. Yeah, I don't know what they do. Like, I wouldn't write a college essay about it because every time like all these college tours you go on, the admissions officer talks about it. I don't want to hear about your mission trip. I don't want to hear about your like game-winning shot because everyone talks about that. It's one of those like cliches of college essays, right?
If I hit a game-winning shot at any point in my life, I would want to write about it. I would want to tell everyone about it.
How many other people also hit a game-winning shot? Like,
yeah.
Like everyone has their dead grandparent who they found really influential, but it's a cliche. People obviously it's impactful to you. Yeah, it's sad that your grandfather died, but like it happens.
Everyone's grandpa dies at some point, unless you die before your grandparents.
Yeah, so I mean it happens. So writing about it is not going to help you. Writing about your mission trip, I don't know what they write. I don't even know what they do on the mission trips, like we were saying.
Yeah, like
build houses.
I've always wondered, like I guess build some houses, but a lot of times you just see these pictures of like just girls with babies. Like, is that all you did? Just, like, flaunt your cell phone in the face of these African kids and get some nice photo ops? Yeah. I would take a mission trip, though, if someone offered it to me. They're expensive, though. They're not cheap.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. That's colleges spread to a bunch of rich kids a bunch of rich parents sending their kids off to Belize to help support.
If I was a rich parent or any kind of parent, I wouldn't send. That'd be the last place I'd ever want to send my kids by themselves, without me. Uganda. You can go to Paris or
No, but it's for
London.
The college
Oh yeah,
That's why they do
the
it.
college essay. Yeah, maybe. I did my college essay on Teen Network Board.
I mean, I think Teen Network Board is way better than the college because it's actually like making an impact on your community. And for those who don't know what Teen Network Board is, you want to explain it?
Yeah, it's with our county. It's like a youth outreach program, kind of youth run. It's run through Department of Health and Human Services, DHS, basically promoting the youth voice. It's basically community service in an attempt to promote the youth voice in Arlington County. So whether it be speaking at county board events, giving presentations in front of middle schoolers, working to pass some sort of legislation within the county in relation to a lot of the issues that affect teens, so peer-to-peer bullying, drugs and alcohol prevention, and like employment opportunities for teens.
Yeah. So no, I definitely think doing stuff in your community is a great way to show I guess colleges like to see that basically. And I mean, you see a bunch of people doing it for the college applications. And I mean, it's kind of hard to fault people for doing it. Like, I'm not going to get mad at anyone for doing community service because they want to show it on the college rec.
Yeah.
It's one of those things like, okay, yeah, I guess people are doing it for the college rec, but like...
But at least they're doing community service.
Yeah. Doing charitable work just because it furthers your own goal. Whatever.
I think having a job is the thing that colleges really want to see. That's what I've always heard.
Yeah,
I think
that's a good thing too.
Shows a lot more initiative. I think all teens should work. I don't get the parents that are like, I want my kid to focus on school and then not work a job. I mean, it's like, do you work? Do you have a job?
I do have a job, but I've only had it since September. I work at Duck Donuts down at Harrison.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Dang.
So, I mean, I think like, obviously a lot of kids around here don't need jobs. I don't even need a job. I just got it because I wanted to get some more money.
Yeah, but, I need one. My parents cut me off when I was like 14. It made me get my own job. But it's a valuable lesson. My kids are going to work. If I'm fortunate enough to have kids or find someone to have my kids, I think they're going to work. I'm going to make them work. I don't like school isn't a full-time job.
No,
I don't think.
I think a lot of kids are doing stuff outside of school.
Yeah.
So, like, I guess whatever, sports teams, organizations. So, I mean, kids are definitely busy, but I think getting a job is an important thing to do.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And it's like, if I had a store, I'd want to employ teens.
Really?
I'd want to hire teens. Because think about it, they're all part-time. They all get paid hourly. None of them are on fixed rates. You don't have to pay for any insurance.
You can pay adults hourly, too. What do you mean?
Yeah, but like with adults, there's a lot of like other benefits and insurance and stuff you have to pay for. Kids, it's how old are you when you start a 401k or like a retirement plan? You know, because I don't think any of my I hope some of my paychecks are going to that, but I don't think any of mine. That's what I thought, because the place I work is like all teen employees, all like younger employees, and so I don't know. I think that's genius. And hiring teens, cheap labor.
I guess, and I mean, I don't know if you want to talk about the minimum wage right now, but like a lot of people.
Minimum wage.
A lot of people working these jobs. I think the average age for minimum like wage working is like 29.
Really?
Yeah.
That's horrible.
And it's still $7. At least in the federal minimum wage is $7.25.
Which is so low. That's like $60 a day.
Yeah, I mean
before taxes. Yeah.
You're working whatever 8 hours.
I know. Do you think the minimum wage should be raised? I think it should be raised at least. I'm not saying that we should go out and pay everyone $30 an hour.
I think
but
if you're working 40 hours a week, you should be able to at least live off that.
Yeah. I think it should be like correspondent to the area that you live in.
Places like in DC, it'll be $15. I think it's like $13.25 right now. But they like raise it every like, I think they had a plan that they'll raise it like every year. So now I think it's at like $13.25 or something. But they should definitely raise it corresponding to the area, because like there's no way you could live in Arlington and work like a minimum wage job. And
it's possible for these companies to be able to pay their employees reasonable wages and still function. It's not like it's taking a huge dip. Like In-N-Out Burger, managers at In-N-Out can make upwards of $100K a year.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, and it's not like In-N-Out Burger's losing all this money because they have to pay all their employees so much. I think it's just because where is this money going? Paying the CEOs and executive, because it's not like you'll see like an improvement in McDonald's
Yeah, I mean, there's
food quality.
I saw a news article today actually saying like the top 26 people, like richest people in the world, have as much wealth as the bottom 50%.
I know.
So I mean, it's definitely huge inequality. I mean, bottom 50%. Keep in mind, like, odds are if you're listening to this podcast, you're not in the bottom 50% of the world.
Odds are if you have a platform to listen to the podcast, you're not in the bottom 50% in the world.
So I mean, that statistic is pretty big. And going back to our original topic, people like AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she was offering like a 70% marginal tax.
70% tax on the top 1%.
Which I think I would support, 70% tax.
I would support an increase in tax. I don't know about 70. I don't know. And I'm no expert on taxes, but 70% sounds like a lot. 70% of your income?
70% of your income over $10 million.
Over $10 million.
So only the part over $10 million is going to be taxed 70%. That's how marginal taxes work.
Oh.
That's how all taxes work, really. So there's different tax
brackets. That's the brackets. I know that, yeah.
So basically what AOC is recommending is that any income over $10 million, so say you make $20 million, let's ignore the bottom tax, you'd be paying like $7 million in taxes.
I could get behind that. I think, but then again, I can't put myself in the shoes of the top 1%.
They're not starving because they're getting taxed.
Yeah, I know, but like, it could just be greed, but I can also kind of relate with this. Like, if I work hard to make that money,
do you think they're working a million times harder than someone making $7?
Probably not. But they're doing something. It's not like they're like bums.
I'm not saying they don't deserve money necessarily. I'm saying that like I don't mind a 7% tax rate because I don't think like at that point, like if you're making over $10 million a year, 70% tax rate is not going to be a huge deal.
Yeah, for sure. We were talking about minimum wage. I think a good minimum wage is like $15, $17 range.
So you'd be on the pretty far left if you $15 minimum
wage. $15. I think.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that like I don't know. A lot of people would like agree not to agree with you. So.
I know, which I don't really understand. Is especially for a lot of these Republicans, a lot of them are like. It's not like they're like the bulk of Republicans are all like wealthy. There's a lot of people from the fucking sticks, like Alabama, Louisiana, Kentucky, and those are like staunch Republicans. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they don't make jack shit in way. They're poor as hell. They're like, so I don't know. I don't understand why someone who's making minimum wage would support reducing the minimum wage or even getting rid of a minimum wage or.
No. I mean, that's what the Republican Party does. They appeal to people that you wouldn't really. I guess you wouldn't really expect. I think a lot of it is like, obviously the poor Republicans aren't necessarily benefiting right now. I think the idea is that like, I forgot how the saying goes, but like, there aren't any poor Republicans. They're just temporarily embarrassed millionaires. Something along the lines of like that. Like they don't. It's about them not feeling that like they're justified in taking money through taxes. Is basically what they're doing.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah. There any other topics you want to go over for episode 1 of Slightly Educational, or you want to call that an episode? All right, so that concludes episode 1 of Slightly Educational. We're going to work on making it longer. This is the first episode, hopefully, of many more to come.
More consistent schedule too.
More consistent schedule. We're not just going to be.
See you in the next 3 years.
Yeah, see you in 2 years. But yeah, hopefully anyone who listens to this, give us some feedback, give us some topics that if anyone who's listening to this has a topic that they want to suggest that we talk about. We're both open to talking about pretty much anything from. I mean, do you draw the line anywhere? And what kind of topic you'd want to talk about? I'll talk about anything from vagina exercises to marijuana to terrorism. I don't think there's really anything. I don't know if there's anything I would necessarily feel uncomfortable talking about. I don't think there is anything. So yeah, if you want us to talk about, transgender wrestling or. I'm sure that's a thing.
I mean, that was a controversy. There was a transgender girl wrestler, right? So they used to be a guy, or they used to identify as a guy. And then the problem is that she's just so much bigger than all the other girls wrestling because it was a guy. So. But I don't. It was some Texas like wrestling.
That could be an episode for another time. That sounds like the transgender episode 2. All right, so that's Slightly Educational Podcast, episode 1. I am Seth. I am peacing out. Gabe, any last remarks before we go?
No.
All right. Adios. They don't make jack shit and wait. They're poor as hell.
I just have to write it down because if you curse on your podcast, you have to get it marked as a adult podcast.
Really?
Yeah, so I'm just gonna I'll censor it. That's all right.